Welcome. Thank you for joining us for our program, How to Declutter a Decade's Worth of Stuff with Jamie Novak. My name is Helen Liu, and I'm the Programming and Partnerships Manager at Cary Library. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the Cary Library Foundation. Their support enables us to bring programs like today's event to you. I would also like to thank the public libraries in Bedford and Belmont for partnering with us on this program. This program is being recorded and will be posted to the library's YouTube channel for 2 weeks, after which it will be taken down per request of our speaker. If you have any questions, please submit them to the Q&A and Jamie will do her best to answer them. We are so excited to welcome Jamie back. You may have seen her on morning TV or read her newest bestseller, Keep This, Toss That. Jamie Novak hosts a 10-minute podcast and has a popular YouTube show. She spends most days presenting virtual programs on how to declutter with a humorous twist. When not on the computer with her dog, Holly, at her feet, Jamie is drinking iced tea while clipping out recipes she'll never prepare. Don't we all? Be sure to visit jamienovak.com to find out the toss it item of the day. Welcome back, Jamie. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you so much, Helen. It's great to be back. And hello, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your evening and spending it here with us. We have a slideshow prepared for you. We'll be together just about an hour. So please stay as long as you can. And remember that Q&A feature is there for you for any questions that you have. We'll be sure to get to those towards the end. And right now, let's jump right into our content because this is what we will be covering in our time together. How to declutter lots of stuff. So if you're tuned in with us tonight, good news, you're not alone. So you might feel already part of the community, as so many of us that are here are going, oh yes, I've got lots of stuff and I'm not sure what to do with it. So that's what we'll be answering in our time together this evening. And of course, how to prevent it from returning would be great, because once we've cleared some things out, you might like to keep that closet from overflowing again. So this may be lots of postponed decisions. So many decisions, lots and lots of decisions. If you could imagine your home, apartment, condo, storage unit, you may have things that people moved out of your home and left behind. You may have inherited items, and each and every item requires a decision. So sometimes physically it's taxing to move a lot of things, but also we might postpone the decision for a variety of reasons, including we've reached maximum decision-making capabilities for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year. We just simply almost can't decide about another thing. Then there may be treasures and memories for those of us that have that sentimental streak. So join the conversation in the chat if you'd like to. Do give us a yes or a Y in the chat if you resonate with feeling somewhat, a little sentimental. You have that sentimental streak, souvenirs and treasures. Maybe items if you have children that were theirs or you're saving for future generations. So many items when it comes to feeling sentimental about stuff. And sometimes it's sentimental value and sometimes it's monetary value. So we'll be touching on monetary value as well. And then you just don't know what to do, don't know what it is, don't know why you have it, don't know what to do with it, don't know if anyone will be upset if you let it go. You don't know if you're going to miss it if you let it go. Just in case, maybe you should keep it. And if any or all of this sounds familiar, as so many of you are giving us all those yeses in the chat, so thanks for chiming in. We see we're not alone. You go, okay, whew, I'm not the only one. And I mean, there's almost 150 of us tuned in tonight, and it's because we're not alone. So hopefully I'm going to have some solutions that will work for you. I want them to be simple and easy and comfortable. And I just want to remind you, this is not a program about letting everything go. There are many things that I actually want you to hold on to. I want you to keep. I want you to enjoy them and love them and use them and have them, because those are the things that make it special, bring us back to places in time. But for other stuff that we don't have that same feeling about, we can say so long stuff, and we're going to look at a bunch of resources during our time together. I might invite you to begin with a little photo tour. This is totally optional, but I think it's one of the best ways to begin. So if you have a fancy phone that takes photos, if you have a digital photo camera to take photos with, that would be great as well. And I'm inviting you just to take a little tour with some photographs. These are photographs that you don't have to share with anyone else. Absolutely do not. They can just be for your eyes only. But the idea with the photos is if you're in a home and you might be moving, you'll be able to remember the home, because once you make a move, sometimes you're like, oh, I forgot how we had that set up. Oh, do you remember that was over there? So it's always nice maybe to have that photo. Maybe you're going to be selling, donating, or parting with some items in some way. And when they're gone, sometimes it gives us great comfort to be able to look at a photo and remember something. So when you look at the photo, the same stories and memories and emotions can come up without actually having to hold on to each and everything. So, a little tour with some photos can give us great peace of mind that we'll remember things, we'll remember how things were set up. And one of the reasons why this came to be a strategy that I'm sharing with you now is that I actually was the receiver of these photos many, many years ago. I have three younger sisters. So there's four of us in the family. My father was selling our family home, and he kept saying to all four of us, girls, come and take your stuff. You've got your, childhood rooms, and you've got your desk drawer and your books and your collectibles. My sister collected model horses, and we had all of our treasures. We had posters and artwork on the wall. We had dresses and prom dresses in closets. And he kept saying, come and take our stuff, right? And no one took our stuff. We never went to go take our stuff. And so what he ended up doing was to walk into the rooms and just take pictures. He opened up the desk drawer, snapped a photo, not each individual item, but the walls and the posters and the bookcase. And you could read most of the books on the spine of the bookcase. And then all the model horses and all the dresses and everything. And when he gave us those photos, a really interesting thing happened. We were less attached to the actual items because we wouldn't forget them because we had the photos. And then we were able to say to him, like, okay, great. If you're willing to pack some of this up, I'd like a few things from this picture, a few things from this, and everything else you can donate. And if it needs to be trashed, sometimes things just didn't do well. So a tour with photos can be a great place to start. It also can give you a sense of exactly what's there. Now, if you've got stuff in boxes, attics, basements, garages, and all of that, maybe the photos isn't going to be as useful as the spaces that are already set up and ready to go. But a tour with photos is a great place to start, and we begin there. And then I'm going to encourage you to consider a timeline, a timeline. The months go by so quickly. I mean, we're probably all looking at the calendar. We're just about ready to turn the calendar page, and we're all going, how is it June already? Like, where did the time go? And so a timeline can really help us to create some structure, recognizing that our calendars, our to-do lists, and our lives are probably already pretty full. We've got a lot going on. So this decluttering thing has to sort of fit in to our already busy schedule. And if you're waiting until you've got a weekend where you have nothing else planned, my best guess is we really don't have a weekend without much else planned. And so if you're waiting for that, we'll probably be waiting a while. So a little bit of a timeline, and in a bit, we're going to look at a little structure that I think can bring a lot of peace of mind to this whole project if it feels like you've got a lot of different areas to address and very little time, very little physical energy, or very little interest in this whole project. Like, it's maybe like, I know I need to do it, but I'm not really excited to do it. So I've got a great strategy coming up in just a bit. It's called 12 by 12, and I think you're going to like it. As we get started, one of the most motivational ways to begin is to go really big. Look for one big thing that you know you don't need, that you can donate or give away or share or sell. And if we begin with something big, it is a little bit of effort for a large item that makes a big difference pretty quickly. And it can sometimes be one big item, for example, a piano. And if you have a piano to donate, you can check out Beethoven Foundation, Beethoven Foundation, and oftentimes they can match you with someone that can come and pick it up. So Beethoven Foundation, you could also check with a local house of worship or with a music teacher. Sometimes there's someone that would like a piano. And of course, if you weren't just going to give it away, but you wanted to sell it, we could look at those resources in a little bit as well. So going big, a big piece of exercise equipment, a big piece of furniture, a big piece of furniture that maybe you picked up curbside thinking you were going to refinish it, but you haven't refinished it, right? That might just be me. I picked up a piece of furniture and I decided I wasn't going to refinish it, but I really thought I was, but then I'm not. So long, piece of furniture. The other idea in going big is to go large with collections of items, and the idea is to pare down by 50%, which may be too aggressive. And if it feels too aggressive, don't worry, you can choose a different number, but 50% is a really good goal because if you think about coffee mugs in the kitchen, and if there's 22 of them, and we pare down to 11, 11 is still a pretty good number of coffee mugs. So big item or big percentage of items pretty quickly can be very motivating because you see that you've made a difference. And then you're like, oh, maybe I can do this. And we just keep going. So we can go big. And I'll invite you to focus in on groups instead of single items. So, for example, you might be looking at your bookcase, and maybe, like me, you love recipes and clipping out recipes, and then maybe you also love cookbooks. And I love to check my cookbooks out of the library. This allows me the opportunity to enjoy a variety of cookbooks that I wouldn't have the money to buy on my own or the space to store them. I get to use them. I have a timeline to read them because then I have to return them. So that's where I find that I actually make the recipes from the cookbooks that I borrow from the library versus if I buy them on my own, which I don't really do anymore because I'd much rather borrow them, enjoy them, use them, and return them. So when you focus on groups of items, instead of just looking at a single cookbook, I would look at a group of cookbooks. So we're looking at the books as a whole, and then from the books, we look at old guidebooks, old reference books, old travel books. Then we look at old textbooks and encyclopedias. Then we look at cookbooks. And so we're looking at groups of books because if you have a collection of books, and I'm guessing maybe because we're joining each other through our awesome library program, you probably love books. And so you may have quite a few collected. And if you do, looking at one book at a time can take a while. So we can look at books grouped by the genre of the book or maybe by the author, and then the category, for example, those reference, the old field guides and travel guides, textbooks, encyclopedias, and then, of course, those cookbooks. Betterworldbooks.com, better, like good, better, best, better, world, books, and books has an S at the end, betterworldbooks.com, like the whole world, betterworldbooks.com. You can pop in your zip code and look for a local drop box. It looks sort of like a mailbox, and they're often in parking lots of organizations or stores, and you can donate a lot of different styles of books right there. So betterworldbooks.com. So I will have resources, very specific resources, and coming up in the next few slides. In addition to that, there is a very long list at jamienovak.com. It's about 100 things, so we don't have time to look at them individually, and I don't know that you need them all. But if and when you or a friend or a neighbor or a family member needs them, you can see the full list and it's alphabetized and it's at jamienovak.com. Also, if you have a copy of Keep This, Toss That on your bookshelf, or you've borrowed it from the library or wherever books are available, all of the blue boxes throughout are the awesome resources that we're talking about. So if you're looking for some more resources, there you go. All right, so we're going to focus on groups. So it's not just every one record if you've got a record collection, which would take a really long time to go through, but we would gather them by the artist or by the genre of music, and then we can make a decision about all of them simultaneously. I'm going to suggest that we have a staging zone or planning piles because otherwise what can happen is we start gathering things to go and then there's nowhere for them to go and then they just end up back in our stuff. So I don't know that you'll have all of these different categories, but you might have things that are just going out. You might have things that you're going to give away or pass along. So I think of like donate, give away, and pass along as three different categories because I might be passing it on to my sister, giving it to my neighbor, or donating it. Then there might be selling and sharing and recycling and trash. Anything that I'm giving to family or friends, I tend to have to put a deadline on it. Otherwise, I end up with it for a really long time. So I'll say if you don't pick it up by the end of June, then I'm just going to donate it. And then oftentimes they'll make the effort, or if I can get it to them. But without a deadline, it very rarely happens. So deadlines get things done for sure. And then we're going to look for these items because these are categories of items that might be in your space that are probably pretty easily they're probably pretty easy to let go of. And this way you don't have to make a lot of decisions because they're pretty easy. So we're looking for unopened bottles and jars and containers, gifts that you were given that just aren't your favorite for whatever reason. You can take a picture and maybe pass it along. It's not used, expiring or soon to expire, extras and excess, past paperwork, easily available elsewhere, like my cookbooks that I can borrow from the library, bagged items to donate, hazardous waste, things that we were planning to sell and we didn't sell, or we had a sale and they didn't all sell, so we brought them back in. Flimsy, broken, melted, peeling, warped, rusty, doesn't have all its parts, can't be fixed easily. And I'm not saying that all these items are simply going in the trash, because in just a little bit, we're going to look at a bunch of resources, including items that might be broken that someone might craft with or want parts from or might scrap for, metal. Lots of different ways to keep things out of the landfills. So let's look at vintage clothing, handbags, accessories, shoes, costume jewelry, all of the things that might come out of maybe a dresser drawer or a closet. It's going to include all of those sort of vintagey styles that we really just don't see these days. Sometimes some of those vintage styles come back into style, but usually in a little bit of a different way. But there is a big resurgence in vintage clothing. For a while, there wasn't really a big interest, and now you see vintage shops popping up all over the place. One is listed on your screen. So, Vivint Vintage, and there's two locations in Alston and Boston, but there are others. So, if you're not joining us from the area of the library, you may be tuning in. That's one of the benefits of these awesome virtual programs that Helen and our coordinators put together, because it allows you to join from basically anywhere in the world, which is really cool. So if you were to open up your phone, if you have a fancy phone that has GPS and maps on it, so not a flip phone, but more of like a smartphone, if you have one, and you opened up your maps feature as if you were looking for directions to get to your local library, instead of searching whatever you were going to search, in the search bar, you could simply type in something like vintage shop, and then the local vintage shops are going to come up. And so I hope that one's really helpful in terms of trying to find. And we're going to look at a few other shops that are very popular now. And if you don't know where your local ones are, that's an easy way to find them. Then you can look at the reviews. So I've given you resources that I called and spoke with them, but of course, you'll make your own decision as to whether or not you'd like to work with them to sell your items. Most of the vintage shops buy the items outright. They're not those consignment shops that you might be more familiar with. Vintage shops tend to buy the items outright. So this is just one of them, but there are others. And then this is replacements.com. So as you're going through your space, one space at a time, and we're going to we'll put together a little plan as to maybe what you're going to do. So stay tuned for crafting your own plan in just a few moments. But when you get to the area that might have these in a sideboard, a hutch, a curio cabinet, souvenirs and collectibles and figurines and flatware and sets of dishes and crystal and silver and pocket watches and estate jewelry. I mean, the list is endless. And so you can reach out to replacements either through their 800 number that's on the screen or www.replacements.com. And at the bottom of their homepage, there's two options. One is find a pattern. So if you weren't sure what something was, you could find a pattern, and they can help you identify what something is. And then that might give you more information, because you just want more information to know, like, oh, that was, a family member's set of dishes when they got married, and you're just curious what the pattern is. So more information, and that's free. Or you can upload a picture of the item and to see if they would possibly want to buy it. And if they do, they'll give you an offer to purchase, which you can disregard if you're not interested. But if you like the numbers that they're showing you, then you could get more information and follow through with a sale. So replacements.com or 1-800-REPLACE. And this would all be done through the mail. It's not an in-person location. It's not a brick and mortar store, but they do have a huge, huge warehouse. And if you needed to replace something, like you broke a gravy boat, you could contact them to have it replaced because they have these items in stock. And how do they have the items in stock? They buy them from us. So that's how that works, which is how replacements came to be. So that's really helpful. All right. And oh, here we go. Of course, as we're going through some of the items, if you come across photos of old library building, the Belmont Public Library would love to get those. There are historical societies all across the country. Many of them are located within the public library of the historical society area, and they really have a passion for preserving history. So as you're going through, if you've got photos and postcards and things that are special to a certain place in the country, reach out to the historical society of the area where they're from. And there's a really good chance that they would love to have those from you, either copies or the originals, so that they can add them to their archive and really round out the history of the area. So if you have some items, it would be really helpful to think about maybe passing them along. All right, well, let's take a look at just a few more slides. And this is for those of us that have books, video games, video game consoles and controllers, DVDs, CDs, so many things that might be over on a bookcase. I have some CDs and I don't even have any way of playing CDs because my new computer doesn't have a CD player. So declutter, and I just want to note that the missing E in the word declutter is correct. So in case you thought that was a typo, if you're taking some notes, I would encourage you to write down that the missing E is correct, because when you look back at your notes, you might think, oh, I spelled that wrong, but you didn't, because that is correct. So you can either go there and download their app, in which case you could simply use the camera feature on your phone to scan the ISBN number through their app to see if they want to buy the item. Otherwise, you just have to type in the ISBN number. So it's just a little extra effort. And if they want to buy the item, and I don't know for how much, it might be 50 cents, it might be $50. I couldn't say, it just depends on their interest and what they already have in stock. And then they pay the shipping. And then they can pay you in a variety of ways, one of which is a paper check if that's your preference. So declutter.com, the missing E is correct. So if you want to go through the bookcase, here's a few resources. So if these resources are helpful, but you're still wondering, but this feels like an overwhelming task, how do I get started? Don't worry, we're going to move into that in just a moment. I wanted to jump right into the resources that I hope are super helpful. And so I want to remind you that if you are on Facebook, or if you know someone that is on Facebook, because I understand, social media may not be a preference, specifically Facebook might not be your favorite. So if you are on Facebook, or if you know someone that is, Facebook has enthusiast groups. And you can find them just by opening up Facebook and then in the search feature, typing in what the category is. For example, Barbie dolls or Coca-Cola, sets of trains like Cabbage Patch dolls, American Girl dolls, Breyer horses. The list is endless as to these enthusiast groups that people that are passionate about that particular collectible have met on Facebook. It's totally free. And these enthusiast groups can be such a wealth of information about specific categories of things. So if you had, a collection of Cabbage Patch dolls and you're like, but I don't know what this one is and what year this one is, or if this one's more collectible than another one, the enthusiast group is going to have so much information about that because that is their passion. They research it, and sometimes you can actually buy and sell on these groups. Other times they're just for, sort of sharing information. So Facebook enthusiast groups is one way, and that's totally free. Also on Facebook, there are Buy Nothing groups. And these Buy Nothing groups offer you the opportunity to connect with other Facebook friends. And just as a reminder, these are your Facebook friends. These are not your trusted friends. So we're definitely meeting in a public place and not sharing any personal information. If you're working with someone through Facebook, either Facebook Marketplace to sell items or Facebook Buy Nothing groups to meet up to share something for free, you're just giving it to someone. I would definitely do that in a public place, and I would only message through Facebook Messenger. I'm not necessarily giving someone my personal phone number or my email address. But if you felt comfortable within the parameters of the Facebook group, you can see these buy nothing groups where if you had extras of anything, including all those craft supplies that maybe you're thinking, but this necklace broke and I've just got some beads. And does someone want beads? Yes, they would love some beads. And you can certainly just simply donate that to one of the thrift stores in the area. But if you specifically wanted to reach out and just give it to someone that you knew was a crafter, this would be a way to find them. So for all of the yarn and fabric and scissors and everything else, buy nothing groups can be great. And if you didn't prefer Facebook for any reason, FreeCycle is, I don't know if it's the original, but it might be one of the larger free buy nothing groups. So FreeCycle, FREE cycle.org. You can register. So you do need to put your email address in to make an account. But once you do, it gives you the opportunity to, by zip code, either where you work or where you live, to join that free cycle group and say, hey, I have a broken toaster. I've got a broken appliance. Does anyone want it? And you might be very surprised that someone does, because they scrap the metal or they tinker with it or they craft with it, or they're going to show a scout troop how to take it apart and put it back together. You just never know. So there's lots of opportunities, whether it's broken or not. Buy nothing groups can be a great way to keep things out of the landfill. So yes, art supplies, as Joe says in the Q&A, absolutely. This would be a great opportunity to share those items. So especially before they go bad, because glues and paints and fabrics, it just doesn't last forever. So little by little, as we're clearing out space by space, and we're going to make a personalized plan for you in just a minute. So hold on for that if you're wondering, what am I going to do? Where do I begin? Take a breath. Good news. We're going to work on that in just a moment. Before we do, don't forget that record shops are hot again. Artists are releasing things on vinyl, so vinyl is having a moment. And so there are record shops. This one is located in our area of the libraries, if this works for you. If not, again, I'll direct you to the maps feature on your phone. Open up your maps and then do a search by record shop. And then up they come, and you can find your record shop. And then usually, and I can't say for sure, so don't quote me, but typically a popular record that's been opened, maybe been used and not in the best condition, would be somewhere just under $1 a record, would be my expectation. It might be a different number, but I'm thinking around $1. And then if it's still in a shrink wrap, if it's unique, not popular, because popular means a lot of us have it and we're discarding them at the same time. So unique is the difference. So unique, still in its shrink wrap, which would make it unique, usually more than $1, maybe somewhere around 10 or 20. Again, I couldn't say for sure. Also, stereo equipment, speakers, and things like that would be great for a record shop. So if you've got some things hanging out in a storage space and you're like, oh, maybe this would be great, it could be a perfect match. And then don't forget camera equipment. Cameras aren't really being made in the way that they were years and years and years ago. And so if you have some, this would be a lovely opportunity to consider a local camera shop. So here is one that's near to our libraries. Of course, again, the maps feature, type in camera shop, then give them a call, make sure that they buy camera equipment. If they do, you might make an appointment or make sure the buyer is there. I wouldn't want you to go and make a wasted trip. And don't forget, in our Cary Memorial Library, Library of Things, there's digitizing equipment. So if you're like, well, this is great, I have cameras, but I also have slides, how do I digitize them? We can borrow those items from the library to make that digitizing a little bit easier. If your library doesn't have digitizing equipment and you can't find it and you don't want to buy it, you could check out Legacy Box, Legacy, like I'm leaving a legacy, and then Box, B-O-X, Legacy Box, and they can digitize for you. Staples and Best Buy stores accept 7 items per person per day, doesn't matter where you bought it, and this is for proper recycling. Staples just recently included luggage, but you'll see on the list coffee brewers and shredder, right? So if you have paper shredders, if you have scanners and VCRs and printers and all the things, we can keep them out of the landfill with proper recycling through Staples or Best Buy stores. 7 items per person per day, doesn't matter where you bought them. And the rule is sort of like if you can carry it in, they'll usually take it, even the luggage, right? But if it's oversized, there might be a $20 fee and they might not take it at all. So I would check in advance, like a large television. Of course, there can be those local hazardous waste events. You might be able to drive it somewhere, but if you don't have a vehicle, if it's not easy, if you miss the date, This is year round, doesn't matter where you bought it. And Best Buy can help you remove your personal information from phones if you're concerned about passwords and personal information. So, one of the biggest challenges that I have personally, and maybe you do too, is staying focused while enjoying those walks down memory lane. Because as I'm going through drawers and looking in cabinets and closets in the attic and the basement and the garage, if you have some or all of those spaces, you're probably finding things that bring up memories. Hopefully, really good memories, but not always. And so, staying focused while taking those walks down memory lane, it might mean that you have your phone nearby so you can snap those photos of special things so we can keep going. And I just love when I'm looking through things and I can text my sisters and share a picture of something. And then we're all talking about, oh, I remember that, apple that, made that jolly noise. And, you used that when you were a baby. And now, like, the plastic's all chipped and the paint's coming off and it's not safe for anyone to use. It does need to be discarded. But taking a photo first, calling them and hearing the little jingle of the apple brings back all those lovely memories. Then we have the picture, we've got the video, and then we let the actual item go. So staying focused while taking walks down memory lane, because time spent enjoying the memories is not time lost. It's just different than decluttering. And then you might want to have a party or make a treasure box. So I think that you should maybe consider a treasure box. I have one and it's one of my favorite things because it has just a little bit of everything. First business cards and first baby booties and all the special things that were saved for me or that I've since saved. They're safe, they're in one place. I can pull it out and enjoy them. And it gives me a container so I know how much to save. Because if I want to put something in and it doesn't fit, then something else has to come out. So if sometimes it feels like your entire house is a little bit of a treasure box because everything is special, this is a way of just keeping those few things that you're like, these are extra, extra special. And then they're in one place and they're secure. And then we've done just family get togethers. I don't tell anyone. And sometimes I don't even plan on bringing anything out. But while everyone's together, if I bring out a box of stuff and we start sorting through it, stories are told. There's a lot of laughter usually, and we're remembering things and we're looking at stuff, all the different items. And then some people might take them with them. Sometimes we take pictures. And it's a way of, again, connection because that's for a lot of these things why we're keeping them because they bring that connection. We want to stay connected to the next generation too. So a treasure box you might collect is one of special items that have family stories behind them. And if you ask, maybe there's a next generation now, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, they might say, nope, don't want it, not interested. But that could very well change going forward. So I might consider a little box with their name on it, put some special things in, the story about what makes it special. And then at a certain point down the line, they'll get the box and they can decide what to do with it. But you've edited it down. No one really wants to be, gifted an entire home of things to go through. If you've ever experienced that, you know how overwhelming it can be. So we want to take the overwhelm out of it, which is what we're going to do in just a bit because we're going to look at crafting your own personal plan. But don't forget to use up consumables. If you're moving, if you're considering moving, if you're just trying to pare down, one of the things we can do is to use up consumables. So if you have a pantry space, if you've got things in the fridge and the freezer, this can allow us to use things up. And if you're not sure if you can eat something beyond its like best by date, you can check out Still Tasty, STILLTASTY, STILLTASTY, Still Tasty. Like, is this still tasty? And it's don't have to make an account, don't have to give your email address. It's totally free. There's just a search bar. You can type in what it is, leftover pizza that you froze, and it will tell you how long you can eat it beyond its best by date. So one of the strategies that works really, really well for many of us is the clear it all and then replace it method. And this is not the idea of taking everything off every space, but one particular space, because if you sort of hesitate in your decisions, if you're not sure what you should take away, then oftentimes it's easier to clear the space, clean it, wipe it down, and then replace because now it's not what am I letting go of, it's what am I keeping? So if that reversal in thinking is really helpful, just the psychology of it, right? So instead of like looking at a bookcase and trying to pick things to go, we clear the bookcase and now we pick things to go back. So it's what do I get to keep? And if that really resonates with you more than what has to go, then clearing off a space and replacing can be a great way of editing down. So that might look like, instead of opening up a kitchen cabinet and looking through the mugs and trying to pick two to go, you take all the mugs out, wipe down the shelf, and then you're like, oh, wait, now that they're sort of out of their natural storage space, and you're like, you know what? I probably don't need all these. And then we're just selectively putting back the ones that we absolutely love the most. We reach for all the time, we love. And maybe there's some ones that were gifts and we're going to take pictures of them. And maybe there's ones with logos from banks and they're just not our favorite, so those can go. So clear it all and then replace gives us the opportunity to figure out what we want to keep versus what we want to quote unquote toss. So absolutely. We'll circle back in case you missed the slides about the jewelry. So let's just take a moment now. We looked at replacements.com for estate jewelry. We looked at vintage shops for vintagey style jewelry, and consignment shops usually buy jewelry outright. So if you're not sure what the jewelry piece is, you could upload a picture at replacements and they may be able to help you determine what that is. Yeah, so we're going to take a look at this VIP idea, and this is your very important project. So for me, I try to get my VIP done before lunchtime. And this really sets the stage for a very successful rest of the day, because even if I don't get anything else done for my to-do list, I've definitely gotten that one thing that absolutely had to get done completed. So the idea of a VIP is one very important project for the day that if nothing else happens from your to-do list, this item definitely gets done. So you might say, well, I need to make a phone call, or I've got to upload my picture to replacements, or I want to work 10 minutes in this area. And if we do that, then the rest of the day, whatever happens and you get done on your to-do list, it's all great, but we've gotten our very important project done. And done by lunch is usually good in case the rest of the day goes a little bit in a way that you didn't expect. This is probably a great way to stay on track. So if you were to work on organizing in little bits, you might say, I'm going to look one thing up today. I'm going to take a few pictures today. I'm going to work 10 minutes on one shelf today. And that consistency adds up to a big change versus waiting until you have the time and the mental bandwidth and the physical energy and a whole day to work on stuff. And then usually when we have the whole day, we don't tend to do it. So VIP by lunch, I think, is an ongoing strategy, especially if you're trying to overcome procrastination. And another wonderful strategy for overcoming procrastination is setting deadlines. So if you've been putting off going through that closet, that back room where a lot of things have landed, there's a comment coming in about I've got a lot of new things that I don't need and I get overwhelmed trying to sell them because some of them are very expensive. I love this question. I think a lot of us can relate to whether they're new or they're just in really good condition. And it can be overwhelming. You know, what would I sell? Where would I sell it? How would I gather it all? And so that overwhelmed feeling, I think for a lot of us, and I'm so glad that you mentioned this, I think it really does come to the idea of trying to do all the things at once, right? That overwhelm of like, I've got to do all the things everywhere all at once. And that's pretty impossible. I certainly struggle with that overwhelmed feeling myself. So I'm so glad that you brought it up. When we think about this, one of the best strategies, I think, for overcoming the overwhelm is action and a small action. So setting that timer for 5 minutes and saying, I'm going to gather just a handful of jewelry. I'm going to find this one place that buys records. I'm going to take some records there. So breaking it up into small projects, which is what we're going to work on in just a minute. So let me know if you think that's going to be a solution for you. But deadlines are really helpful. The deadline means that you have a date by which you must get something done. So if you have a back room that you've been trying to go through and it's also a guest room, you can invite someone to stay over maybe a few months from now, right? And come for my birthday, let's say, and spend the night. So now you have to clear the room because they're coming. If you're going to be doing a repair or an upgrade in your home or apartment and you schedule the, person to come, now you have to get it organized because they're coming. If you're thinking of selling your home, but you're not quite sure, but you wanted to meet with a real estate professional to tour the home to give you some ideas of what you could depersonalize and get ready if you were thinking about selling, just to get some preliminary information, that first appointment is the deadline to start making a little progress in some spaces because you probably know they're going to say, like, well, you've got to kind of clear off the table and go through some other areas. So deadlines are really important. And another really helpful deadline can be scheduling an organization to pick up. Because when you schedule an organization to pick up a bag of things, we don't need all the bags. We just need one bag, right? So they can come back for more another time. we schedule an appointment for pickup, then you have to make a bag because they're coming. So deadlines really help us get things done. And the more deadlines we can set, I think the more accountable we can be to ourselves. But for when it comes to accountability, if you set it up for yourself and then you don't reach it, you're the only one that knows that. So accountability partners can be a really great strategy as well. Maybe you have a friend, a family member, a neighbor, a coworker, someone in your book club or an organization, and you're like, I went to this thing about organizing, and they're like, I've been wanting to organize too. And then you're like, great, we can be partners. Let's call each other 10 o'clock on Tuesdays and say what we're going to go do and then go do it. Let's meet on Friday with a bag of things. So we'll drop it off at a thrift store and then we'll go have lunch. So accountability partners, again, can really help us. And if you're thinking of selling things like having a yard sale or putting things up for sale, accountability partners can help, especially if they're more tech savvy than you are. So you've got someone that can help you in that way, and then maybe you can assist in a different way. So I'm a big fan of accountability partners. One way that you can use me as your accountability partner is by listening to my podcast. Every Monday, there's a 10-minute episode that comes out at jamienovak.com. And so many attendees report back to say, I listen to the podcast on Mondays because that's when it comes out. So there's your deadline. And I work while you talk. And I talk for just about 10 minutes on purpose because it gives you that timed moment to get something done. So I can be your accountability partner for sure. So a little each day, one decision, one quote unquote toss, which is a giveaway, recycle, some way out of your house, one looking up of a resource, and all of a sudden things start to change. So let's take a look at a strategy. And if you do have a piece of paper nearby, I'd invite you to do a little sketching out of this with us if you'd like to. And it's totally optional, so no pressure. But if you have a pen or pencil nearby and a piece of paper, back of an envelope, whatever you've got, I'll invite you to consider 12 by 12 organizing. So this is something that I've used for years. I've used it with clients. I've talked about it in different interviews and things. And I think that it might really be a strategy that's going to help stay focused and then also move forward and overcome procrastination. So there's a lot of different layers as to why this works. So as you can imagine, 12 by 12, you're probably thinking 12 months in the year. Yes. And then 12 areas of focus, 12 areas of focus. So a single focus per month. So I think we could pretty much say May, you might be able to get a little something done for sure. In fact, you've joined this presentation, so that counts. But if we look towards June and July and August, you can give each of those months a specific focus. If you use a digital calendar, you could put it on the first day of the month. If you use a wall calendar, you could write it in. Some way of saying to yourself, in June, I'm going to work on this area, this category, this collection of things. I'm going to work on this space. And then what happens is while you're working on that space, if you're like, oh, but I also want to work on that front closet. And then we're tempted to go to the front closet. Oh, no, no, no. We assign front closet to a different month. So it allows us to, instead of maybe surface level, work on a bunch of different areas, but not make noticeable, lasting progress. What we're doing is spending a whole month. And when I say a whole month, you already have a lot of things going on. You may have a vacation and all sorts of other demands on your time. So we're fitting this in. So it's not that we're probably working on this full time, but it is our singular focus for the month. Now, if you're moving and you don't have a year, we're going to have to really accelerate your timeline. But if you're staying put or you think you are, and you do have the full year, you can assign a category, a project to a month. So I'm not going to assign them for you because I don't know what your areas of focus are. And I also don't know if it would make sense for you to look at the months and assign different projects based on the weather. So maybe there's an attic that's too hot in the summer, but it's way too cold in the middle of the winter. So you need sort of one of those in between seasons. Maybe because you're going to be taking out seasonal and winter decor in, let's say, November, November might be a perfect month for going through seasonal decor. No sense taking it out now and then putting it back necessarily. But if you're going to be traveling in June, July, or August, then looking at your luggage and your travel toiletries. Or maybe you're going on vacation or you're just going to do a lot of outdoor things, gardening, for example, or time at the beach or by the pool or something like that. So that might make sense in July. Maybe you're having a barbecue. If so, then we're going to look at your folding chairs and your coolers and your tables and things. So you can assign it based on, like, naturally you'll already be working on that. Or you could say, the month of June, my focus is going to be instilling a new habit. Nothing on the dining room table. I want to keep that table clear. And that is your sole focus, which means everything that you would go to put on the table needs to have a different home. So you could decide what would be a good area of focus. You could always change it. But if you're jotting this down with us now, sketch out, what do you think you would want to work on in June? One area of focus. July. How about August? September and October? What would make sense for you in November and December? If you're more indoors, like January, February, because the weather, but maybe you're more outdoors because that's your time you really like the chillier weather and you go on a lot of winter hikes. So are you indoor? Are you outdoor? Are you home more? Are you home less? Do you have more demands on your time because there's a holiday or a vacation? Do you have more time and focus? So have you found 12? I'm guessing maybe you found more than 12. Let us know in the chat. Did you find 1, 2, 3, 12? If you found more than 12, we can just add them to the side of the page. We can add them for more months. If you get done early one month, you can bring it in. So we want to look for one area of focus. And you can imagine, if you think back on May and how quickly it went, if you think it went quickly, then you could think, well, if I was working on this one area, I'd be done by now. So 12 by 12 organizing, a singular focus for the month. Now, there are 3 big questions that I ask when I'm looking through and going through boxes and containers and drawers and closets and shelves and all the things. And the first is, would I buy this again today at full price? I might take it if it was free. I might grab it if it was on sale, but would I buy it again today at full price? Our second question: is it worth it to pay to pack and move? Now, I don't know if you're moving or not, but even if you're not moving, we imagine you're moving. Is it worth it to pay to pack and move? Is it worth it to pay to pack and move? And maybe the answer is yes, because you love it. There's only one of them. It's a greeting card collection of all the greeting cards you've got in your entire life. It's your treasured possession. You would absolutely pay, put it in bubble wrap and move it. You love it. Great. Then let's keep that. But then something else probably has to go so we can make space for all of your treasured greeting cards. And I love a lot of my greeting cards. And our third and final question: do I want to leave this for someone else? And what I mean by that is, do you want to leave it for someone else to deal with? It's never really fun to think about, but life is short. It is unexpected. And of course, I hope that we're going to be here for a very, very, very long time. But at a certain point, all of the things that we've accumulated will be someone else's decision to have to go through. It will be their responsibility to look through. And do you want to leave it for someone else to go through? And if the answer is no, then we're going to decide. And I would say also, do I want to leave this for someone else to deal with? But also, do I want to deal with it on a daily basis? Do I want this sitting here, a piece of wall art that I bought and I don't love it? Maybe I used to love it and I've changed my decor, or I didn't really love it, but I didn't return it in time and now it's mine. If I don't use it and love it, why do I want to deal with it? Someone else could use it and love it. Let's just find that person and get it to them. So 3 great questions to ask to identify as we're going through our items. So as always, we want to shop at home first. Shop at home first. Our homes are filled with so many, many things. And so before we buy anything new, if we just look around, we might find the exact item we're looking for. Like we forgot that we bought another can opener and put it in the cabinet. And you're like, I need a can opener. Oh, here's a brand new one. Or something that we could substitute for it. So if you needed a new gift bag and you didn't have one, but you were gifting someone and you could wrap it in a towel or something else, it would be a great opportunity to shop at home first and don't bring more home. So this is one of the most important pieces, because if we continue to shop, pick up things for free, bring in a whole bunch of well-meaning gifts from friends, we collect things because we stop at yard sales, because we pick up things curbside, like a piece of furniture we think we're going to refinish. Then everything we bring home just becomes another decision we have to make. We've got to deal with it. We have to store it. We have to figure out what to do with it when we're done with it. We have to feel bad for not using it in the meantime. It's taking up our space and all the things. So don't bring more home is a really good strategy. So shop at home first. And then if we don't have it, can we borrow it? I just needed a bundt pan. I borrowed it from my neighbor and I gave it right back. She has all the baking pans and I didn't have to buy one that I would use once and then not use again. And don't forget our library of things, because we can borrow so many things from our library, our neighbors, our friends, our family. You can even, with a small deposit, borrow different tools from auto shops and home stores. There's a lot of things that we can borrow that we don't have to have of our own. And then don't bring more home. So to stay motivated, setting a stopwatch is a great way to go. We can set the stopwatch in timer mode. So we set it for 10 minutes. We get a little something done. If we want to go again, reset the timer. So little 10-minute moments. And if you're thinking, but my entire home is filled with things, in 10-minute increments, it's going to take me forever. And I agree with you, but if getting started is the most important part and where we're getting challenged, then once you get started with 10 minutes, you might end up finding yourself going longer. So 10-minute moments, we're breaking up that all or nothing thinking and going, I'm going to work in small bits. But if setting a timer feels too pressure filled to try to work on something before the timer rings, then setting a stopwatch is like if you're running a little race, right? So you set the stopwatch. How long is it going to take me to go through this drawer? And you set the stopwatch and it counts up instead of down. And you can see, oh, that took me 7 minutes. I'll see if it takes me longer or shorter next time when I do the next drawer. So it's another way of bringing in a little competition, turning a chore into a challenge, but it's not so pressure filled if the timer method doesn't work. You could also use the commercial break from your television show. You could work while the laundry cycle is going if you do laundry at home. Lots of different ways to use these timed moments to get things done. Here's a short list of organizations that pick up. You can schedule a pickup with them. Most of these work in just about every state, so it just depends where you're joining us from. The next slide is going to be super specific to our Massachusetts and the libraries area, but these will work in just about every state, so it depends on where you're tuning in from. So things like SA Chuck for Salvation Army and Habitat is Habitat for Humanity, and oftentimes they take furniture. Pick up my donation, pick up please. Vietnam veterans, VVA pickup. So lots of different ways to schedule a pickup. And remember, scheduling a pickup means you've got a date on the calendar, which in turn gets things done because you must make at least one bag. They're coming. So donate items here. This list is part of the list that's available for free at jamienovak.com. And then super specific to our Massachusetts friends that have tuned in tonight, Welcome Home Mass and On the Rise. Lots of different items that they're requesting. The drop-off days and times can be different, so check it out, see what they have, and see which ones you prefer to support. So you might like one on the list more than another. And then sometimes if you're like, well, even if I don't really love them, if it keeps it out of a landfill, I'd be willing to give it. So just some ones to add to your list in case you didn't have these sort of on your phone. You can snap a screenshot of take a picture or snap a screenshot. You could also write them down and then put them on the inside of a utility cabinet. And that way, when you have something, you can find a place to share it. So as we wrap up our time together and get to any of your questions that might still be lingering, I want to remind you that you can absolutely do this. You've been doing it, right? You've been parting with things. Maybe if it's been a few things, maybe it's been a lot of things, but slow and steady, you can do this. If it feels like an insurmountable task, if it feels overwhelming, if it feels intimidating, just remember slow and small. We begin with just a handful of things, we make decisions, then we find some more things and make more decisions. So it's little by little by little, progress, 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 and it's never going to be perfect, but we can just keep moving forward. So at our awesome Cary Memorial Library, we have things that we can borrow like paper shredders and a luggage scale. There's those digital conversion different devices. There's just so much to borrow. There's so much to borrow from friends and neighbors and that you can let others borrow. So think about how we can shop less, borrow more, and bring fewer things home. I want to remind you that, in my opinion, decluttering isn't just about tossing everything. It's about making space for today while respecting yesterday. With every item you choose to release, you're building your confidence and making room for the things that bring you joy today, time and energy to enjoy them. You're not alone. You're not the only one, and you're not behind. You are just where you need to be, making one brave decision at a time. So I encourage you to trust yourself. You're doing something meaningful and you're doing it beautifully. If you've passed things on before and tonight I shared a resource and you're like, oh, if I only would have known, remember that at the time you did the best thing with the information you had. And going forward, you may have more resources. So if we're just meeting for the very first time, my name is Jamie Novak. Thank you so much for tuning in. At jamienovak.com, you can find the podcast, print a free calendar. There's resources and so many things that you can take advantage of. So I do hope that we're going to stay in touch. And I want to thank you very much for taking an hour out of your evening and spending it here with us. If in the chat you'd like to say a favorite tip, we would love to see what was maybe a favorite takeaway. So drop it in the chat if you'd like to share. Totally optional, but we always love that. We'll see if Helen can pop in a link to the library's YouTube page, which I'm assuming we can get to directly from the library's website. And we've got our Bedford Free Public Library, Belmont Public Library, our Cary Memorial Library, and the donors to the Cary Memorial Foundation that made this program possible, and you for tuning in. So thank you to Helen and everyone that came together to make our program a success this evening. This is officially the end of the slideshow, but it's not the end of the program. If you need to go to get started and set your timer for 10 minutes, please do log off. It was lovely having you join us. However, if you're available to stay here, we would love to have you tune in and listen to the Q&A portion. If you do have a question, the Q&A feature is there for you. And if that's not available or easy for you to find and chat is easier, we encourage you to pop it in chat. I see all your lovely comments coming in. I'm not able to respond to them in the chat, but I'm reading each and every one of you. So thank you so much. And it really means a lot that you got some value from it. 12 by 12 is one of my favorites too. So yay, what a fun time. And Helen for putting everything together behind the scenes to make it run so smoothly. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. We do have a question. Amy wants to know if you can put up that resource list for giving things away again.
Absolutely. So
And while you're looking for that, for those of you who are interested, we will be sending a recap with a link to the recording, and that will be sent to everyone who registered. So
yes, absolutely. So here we have, and I don't know if it was this one. I will start here and then I can go back one more to the other resource list as well. There's a question in the chat about using eBay. And sure, you could use eBay. It's a personal choice, of course. So the reason I don't really highlight eBay as much is that there are listing fees. So even before you've sold anything, you have to put money out of pocket kind of, which is not always a favorite thing to do. eBay would be great for researching what you have, but I would say if you're going to look up what you have, like a collectible, like a Beanie Baby, let's say, you want to make sure that on the left-hand side of the screen, on when you're on eBay, on the left-hand side of the screen, you scroll down and on the sidebar, it says show sold only. And if you don't tick that, you'll probably get responses about things that are listed for sale that are probably not the really accurate listing prices. It's like what someone hopes they're going to get, but sold shows you the date it sold and what it actually sold for. Whether or not you choose to sell on eBay, of course, is a personal choice. And there's a lot involved there. There's also a lot of competition because eBay is huge. But I know a lot of people that have a lot of success with it. So, but for looking things up, I would definitely check the little box that says show sold only. If this was the other donate list that you were looking for, as a reminder, the whole thing is at jamienovak.com. Joyce reminds us, which is something that I didn't say today, but it's in the book. She reminds us, and Joyce, thanks for calling that out. CUTE is my favorite acronym. So I made up CUTE, CUTE, and I think it stands for can't use this ever. And as Joyce points out, it stops her from buying so many things because you're like, cute, can't use this ever. It's just a dust collector. Maybe we snap a photo and we move on. So Joyce, thanks for giving me a smile. That was really helpful. Yeah, Pat says great motivation, getting ready to move and have decluttered a lot. But still a lot that maybe I shouldn't move. So yeah, put it in a box that you're ready to let it go. It's already determined to go. If it fits in the new space, great. And if not, then maybe it goes. So I love that. Monique, you're welcome. Beth Ann and Amy, Cynthia. Kasturi, think, oh, 10 minutes. Yep, each day is my favorite. Cynthia, Sally, Anna, Bridget, thank you. Mary loves that 12 by 12. Absolutely. Barbara, Patricia, Bill, thanks for tuning in. Beverly, Joe, good to see you. Amy, Rosalind, yes. So 12 by 12 is the idea of one area of focus per month. So June, like, are we going to work on a shelf, a cabinet, a closet, a room, building a new habit, like nothing on the table? So when we do that, it gives us time to practice and really make a big difference versus a little bit everywhere and then nothing feels like it's really done. So June and then another focus for July, and it helps to keep me organized. So Joe popped in a link. Thank you so much. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through, Helen. I think we got everything. The last slide again, there was a request for the last slide again. So we'll leave donate for five. We can leave that up for 5 seconds. Hi, Linda. Thank you. You're welcome. Sheila, you're welcome. We'll leave this up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and scrolling forward to, I think, the last slide, which was it this one? I hope this is the one that you wanted. If it's not, please let me know. Yes, Amy, the resources are really helpful because I'm willing to let it go. I just need to know where to let it go to. And if I don't know what to do with it, then I don't do anything and then I end up keeping everything. So, yep, Joe is popping in. Helen, Joe's thanking you for coordinating everything in the chat. So, thanks, Joe, for being here. I think this is the requested last slide. If it's not, Amy, let me know. But I'm thinking this is the one you may have wanted. But if not, I'm happy to slide them around. And of course, this is
I think
recorded.
you showed the resource list that she was looking for, the one that had
Oh, good.
the first one you showed.
Great. Okay. So then I think we're all set. And then where can we find the recording, Helen? That was, I think, the only remaining question.
Right. So after the recording is edited, that is when the link is created. So we won't have anything to share at the moment. So, but
And will
everyone who
we
registered will get a link to the recording in the recap.
oh, you make that so easy. Thank you. So we don't even have to track it down. It's just going to come to us, which is awesome. My podcast comes out at midnight. So 11:59 early Monday morning. So it's available. So, but there's almost 400 episodes. You can go back and listen to them all. They're all free, but it comes out at midnight. So it's ready for you for Monday, depending on what time zone you're in. You're all set. Elizabeth, you're welcome. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Is everybody ready to go set a timer and get started? We know where we're going to go now. Yeah.
Well, thanks for fabulous presentation, Jamie. So many great tips to get everyone motivated, and I'm sure everyone's excited to get started. Thank you so much for being here again, and have a good night, everyone.